My name is Dino, and I'm here to tell you part 2 of a limitless hair story with no ending. Now, for anybody that didn't watch part 1 of a limitless hair story with no ending, please go back to part 1 because you need to understand each part of this story that leads up to something that's revolutionary in the industry presently that is extremely helpful for everyone in the industry that needs more hair, that has a hair problem or just wants more hair. So I'm going to continue this story, part 2 of a limitless hair story with no ending. Where we left off, I'm going to pick up a little bit on part 1 so we understand it and then step into part 2 here, okay? Where I left off was talking about hair weaves, which was invented by 2 women from Cleveland, Ohio. That was a major breakthrough, a revolutionary breakthrough, because it was the first method that added hair and kept hair on the head, where you went to sleep with hair and you woke up with hair and you went in the shower with hair and it was attached to you, okay? Now, the next step that happened with the hair weave, one of the faults of a hair weave was that you can only add hair where you had hair. So let me give you an example. If you had hair all over your head, even if it was a little thin, as long as where you added the hair, you had enough hair to cornrow. And remember, a cornrow is a braid that's down against your head. So if you had hair, anywhere you had hair where you can cornrow, you can add hair. But here's the big thing. Let's say you had hair on the sides and you had very thin hair or no hair on the top. There's no hair to cornrow. Now a weave cannot work. So that was a major downfall, even though a weave was a major breakthrough in the industry. So now somebody else came up with something, taking the weave principle, which is cornrowing the hair and then attaching hair onto it. So someone took the weave principle and they took a hairpiece, later called a hair unit or a hair system, because the word hairpiece was not that good of a word to use anymore. But anyhow, they took a hairpiece and they put a hairpiece on somebody's head and they made the same cornrow around the perimeter of the head. So if you had, let's say, a bald guy or a very thin-haired guy, and he had hair on the sides, or a woman that had hair on the sides, and they didn't have enough hair to attach hair onto the top. So what somebody else did was they took a cornrow and they made a cornrow around the perimeter of where they had hair. And then they took a hairpiece and put a hairpiece on top over the thinning or balding area. And thus they just attached the edge of the hairpiece to the cornrow around the edge, like a horseshoe, okay? That was a major breakthrough for 2 reasons. Reason 1, it was using a weave, but part of a weave. And it was using a weave now to attach hair, not only to hair, but to attach hair to an area that didn't have hair. So in a quick summary, they took a hairpiece and they made a braid around the edge, and they attached the edge of the hairpiece to the hair, the edge to the edge here. And now they had a hairpiece that was filling in an area that didn't have hair or very little hair, and the person now was able to have hair, what's called semi-permanent, meaning they wake up with hair and they go in the shower with hair, and now it's hair that's part of them that they do not take off and on rather, okay? Off and off, on, that sort of thing. So now that was a major breakthrough. Now, I told you there are 2 reasons why it was a major breakthrough. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that how it was named. It was not called a hairpiece that's sewn on your head because people wouldn't take well to that. It was called a hair system. A system means, or a process, means more of not a hairpiece on your head, but a procedure. So that word, a process, a system, was more acceptable through the minds of the public. So they took this technique and they called it a hair system or a hair process. They took hair pieces, put them on top of areas that were thin or bald, and they sewed the edge. Now they had hair systems that were part of you, that you can jump in the water and go in the shower. That was another major breakthrough. Because that was a major breakthrough, industries, different people through the industry started picking it up, all right? It became more popular. Different hairdressers started doing it, all right? Just like with a weave. A weave started very small with these two women from Cleveland, Ohio, and then people caught on, and slowly more and more hairdressers started doing it. And then it became more and more available through the industry very slowly. It took a long time, but very slowly. Same thing with the hair system that's sewn onto the cornrow around the edge. That picked up another stage, and that became more popular, where more and more hair salons or hair studios started offering that. And that was another major breakthrough because, again, you can have hair put on, even in thin and baldy areas, and you can have hair that's part of you. Non-surgical, but part of you. Get up and go to the shower, jump in the shower, jump in the water, brush your hair, and it's all part of you. Major breakthrough, okay? So now, this is the end of part 2 of a limitless hair story with no ending. The next part, part 3, is going to be a limitless hair story with no ending, part 3. And I'm going to explain how that step went into another step and explain some of the downfalls of that and how that was reverse engineered into something else, okay? So stay tuned for the next video of this story, a limitless hair story with no ending, part 3. And I'll see you soon.